Hello guys and welcome, it is ThatSrb2DUDE here today bringing you yet another Splatoon 2 video. Now today's video is going to be a little bit different and a little bit more of an interesting experimentation thing, just to show you some things regarding Splashdown. Now if you guys didn't know, patch 5.1, Splashdown had received this buff where its killing radius from higher above is able to actually reach and apply 100 or more damage to certain players. What this means on a whole load of maps is that with using Splashdown, you should be able to eliminate some of your opponents in places that you weren't able to before in patch 5.0. I'm going to be showing you a couple of these places and more just to see how this Splashdown buff actually goes, because there are some really interesting things about it, and there's one particular weird thing about it. A couple of people on Twitter have actually gone kind of crazy with it, one even discovering a glitch which I tried to reenact. So be prepared because this is going to be a fairly interesting video. So our experiments somewhat start within the reef. As you can see, I'm just kind of under the bridge, and this is one of the first Splashdown spots where you weren't able to perform without the buff of patch 5.1. There are definitely some other spots within this map where you can do the exact same thing and get some really wacky Splashdown kills if you do please. However, this was not the case with certain places and heights within this experimentation. As you can see on this spot, when my friend does an inkjet here and I perform a Splashdown, all I do is apply a little bit of damage. I don't secure a kill or basically anything if my enemy is at this height. So this basically got me thinking of how high does my opponent need to be for me to be able to take them out. We tried on some other places like the snipe area and Muscle Forge Fitness, including with an inkjet too, and as you can see, basically the exact same thing happens, as while they are at inkjet height within this area, it does not seem like I'm able to actually take this person out. When they are standing within this particular area, I have no problem with doing it as they are slightly lower towards me and are within the Splashdown killing radius. Even on this really weird spot in Muscle Forge Fitness where it seemed to be my opponent was higher than usual, I was still able to secure a kill with no issues at all. We then moved on to I'm where our first test was to see if an inkjet could be possibly killed in this area right here. All I saw is that we were still able to apply damage, but that was basically it. And at this point I thought there was only so much you can really do with this Splashdown buff, and it doesn't seem like it's as crazy as you think, until we tried this. So the first Splashdown kill on the inkjet did not kill. However, when I was on the same platform as the inkjet and then splashed downwards, it seemed like my explosion radius was significantly higher. This is basically proving that if you splash down from a higher area, the killing radius above you will be increased by much more, which can be very deadly in a load of different maps. Especially when we look at something like Schellendorf. On this map, you have a large glass area with a bunch of rectangle holes, whatever you want to call it, that you can go ahead and fall down into. Now, if we splash down from the glass towards the floor, the likelihood of someone being splattered, if they're looking over the glass a little bit, can be extremely high. We also tested that you can do this while just being on the ground as well as normal. Our first attempt didn't exactly work. However, by slightly working on the angle correctly, we were able to perform this with no problem. In some variations of the map, there are just a couple of blocks just kind of hanging right under the glass holes. This will allow you to get a little bit more height and basically would just be making your Splashdowns kill with no issues at all. So the question comes back in again, how high does my opponent need to be for them to be able to be knocked out from my Splashdown? Now we tried again one of the most extreme examples, which would be on either Mall or Moray. We tried several different things at Mall, especially on the top left and right areas next to the spawn. And we had also used inkjet on this area to see if my Splashdown would kill if of course I jumped from a higher area. And there was some unfortunate news where we tried this and it didn't seem like it was going to kill at all. The most we were able to do with these tests were just to damage my opponent, which was still kind of ridiculous because that's extremely far away for me to be damaging an opponent like that. It seemed like more of a done deal at that point, so we decided to move on. Now there was this really strange glitch that I saw on Twitter, which I really wanted to try and replicate and to see if the Splashdown buff was an extremely glitchy feature and maybe could be exploited on different maps. And this is basically what the glitch looks like. So basically what I did, I was on the wall, and simply what I just did was perform a splashdown. And the result of that was I was able to take out my opponent, while also suiciding at the same time. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever because I don't exactly splash down anything. I wanted to see if this was actually possible on other specific walls, but as you can see the results of this, yeah, it doesn't go quite well. We tried this several times on many different walls, especially in Moray Towers, doing the exact same thing, and it seems like it does not work at all. For whatever reason, I think it's just this specific wall, where if you perform a splashdown, you'll be taking out your opponent that may be on the edge of this platform. I don't think there'll be any sort of case where you would ever want to do it on this specific wall, especially in Moray Towers. Maybe in Rainmaker you'll get lucky or something, but it's extremely unlikely that you're ever going to perform this, and I assume that maybe the Splatoon devs will probably patch this out because it's not supposed to work like that. And also I don't even think there's any other map in the game that would allow you to perform something like this. So the myth of Splashdown becoming an extremely buggy thing, I feel like I can go ahead and disclose it. While we were on Moray, we did try some other things. I want to try a few things with the rail. As you can kind of see, if I use Splashdown as normal, if a player is on the highest point of the rail, you should not be able to kill them. If they're slightly lower, of course, you still won't be able to kill them. And as you see in this example, you should be able to do it no problem if they are basically low enough to you. So what had seemed to be pretty much the end of all our experiments and just seeing how the splashdown works against people that are on higher areas, it started to seem like maybe we wouldn't be able to take out people that are too high away from us. Until this happened. So basically what you had saw there is that we had put on some special power up. Now I kind of thought that if you were to put special power up on a splashdown, it's just going to affect the radius within the floor, but it seems like it is also a thing that can affect the height, which means we had to try a bunch of different stuff again just to see how this would react in different places. But you can basically see already there on Arrow on a Wall's big wall, it killed pretty much seamlessly. And when we retried it with no special power up at all, it seemed like it didn't do anything other than just apply a little bit of damage onto your opponent. This would basically mean that if you were to apply enough special power up on, you will be extending your splashdown killing range by another significant amount, which in some ways can be a little bit helpful, but there is also a catch with it. In this example with where we first tried special power up, we tried a very extreme case of using special power up, 3 mains and 5 subs of special power up. Now I'm just gonna say it now, you're not going to do that. No one's going to apply that amount of special power up just to be able to splat somebody in one specific place. Many maps in the game for Splatoon 2 have places for that, so it's kind of a thing where there's no point of putting that amount on. So we did try it with different amounts of special power up. We tried cases of using 2 mains of special power up. We tried it with only 1 main of special power up. Specifically on the Arrow 1 on Wall examples, it did not seem like it's going to kill at all. But that's okay because even then, this spot, you're probably not even going to think about doing a splashdown in this spot. Maybe in tower control it might be more likely, or if you really want to do it, you're probably going to do it on the ramp itself, which I believe would kill with no problem. So with all that being checked out, we then decided to do it on some other maps like the Reef, and as the results kind of show, this is one with the extreme amount. Of course, that's going to kill with no problem. Even on the big wall here, we had the extreme amount, and it even killed the inkjet, which is, you know, pretty cool to know. We then lowered the amount of special power up. This amount was 2 mains, and as you can see, it didn't kill at all. However, when it was under the bridge, it was seamless. We did it while the player was standing normally. I believe if the person wasn't in an inkjet form, you should be able to kill this person no problem. We then tried 1 main under the bridge. It seemed like at the regular spot, it did not kill the inkjet. However, if you adjusted your position a little bit, if you're just a little bit higher on the ramp, then it seems like it kills with no problem as well. So on and so forth. We basically tried a bunch of different stuff and came up with a bunch of different results at the same time. But more importantly, I feel like we should talk about the use of the amount of special power up you might want to use on a splashdown, or if you even want to put special power up on at all, and like some of the cases where you're going to want to use a splashdown in certain spot to kill certain person. To just be very honest with you guys, I don't even think it's really worth it to run special power up on a splashdown at all. If you really want to, then I'd say minimum just put one main and then you're fine. But all in all, I'm kind of just 25% on the way of, yeah, maybe do it. But just being able to increase your splashdown radius just by jumping off of a higher area, I think that's enough for you, because that increases it enough to actually be able to hit something very high. And on maps like Manta Maria, let's say, that's probably one of the most helpful ones, because even when you're standing, maybe on the splat zone itself, you should be able to kill anything that's on the grating. If you jump from the grating onto the splashdown, then you're just increasing your range of that, and you're even more likely to kill anything with a splashdown on this particular place. You might even take someone out that's even standing on the bunker too. Even on the arrow wall and walls examples, I don't think it's that much of a big deal, especially on the highest ledge. On the lower open area or snipe area, it might be very helpful there too. I think it might be very specific of where your opponent's standing. So there isn't really any key spots. It just kind of depends on where your opponent's standing and, you know, the chance of you taking them out. If they are standing in this specific place, then yeah, you might be able to splat them. I think Moray Towers, there's some interesting spots, especially with the rails and the overlook area. You should be able to take people out very seamlessly when you are standing around in those areas. And also in Schellendorf, I think there's a lot of good areas where you might pick up a really random kill if you splash down in the right place, if someone's looking downwards from the glass area. It's all very interesting, and I'm glad I kind of went through to, you know, just experiment with this stuff. At the end of the day, we have to kind of look at this of what this splashdown buff is really for. And it's mainly for the inkjets. Like, I don't really think it was made for taking out people on ledges. I think it's just more of a random thing if you do take out someone on a higher ledge. In Splatoon 2, there isn't exactly loads and loads and loads of higher ledge places or particular cases where you're going to do that. It might even be more dangerous, because if an opponent is smart enough to just go ahead and shoot down the splashdown, which it's gonna be at like eyes level, which would be more easier for that player to do that. Then when that's the case, you kind of gotta look at yourself and say, is it really worth it to splash down in this place? And personally, I don't think so. Last thing I kind of want to check off is that if we're talking about splashdowns that are coming from super jumps, I assume if you were to do that, then the splashdown blast is going to be much greater, because in general you're coming from a higher place anyway, and the splashdown is always usually stronger if you're doing it from a super jump. So with that, you're possibly going to get some more random kills as well, but either way, as we already know, it's mainly for the inkjet, and it should be easier to take them out in general. So with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please, if you enjoyed it and enjoyed my experimentation of everything, go ahead and punch the like button with your fist, balled up. Only do it if you enjoyed it, but if you didn't, then bye. Anyway guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, please like, favorite, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Follow me on Twitter and Twitch, both in the description below. Do it for both if you're feeling generous. Make sure to hit the bell notification button next to the description button to let you guys know whenever I do upload a video. And also consider joining my public Discord to go ahead and join my Dude Society community and go ahead and talk to myself with all kinds of topics like this. So thank you very much everyone for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I shall see you guys in a future video.